And welcome back to another Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from King Kong, who asked the question, who would win a fight? A three-way fight, Spawn, Dante, or Dio Brando from JoJo. I will be fully transparent. Spawn's the one I have the most knowledge about. Dante probably comes out a second, and then Dio. Honestly, I don't like. That's not that I don't like. I never got into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but both these guys are like some top tier characters within their own verses. Spawn. I'm actually just gonna go over Dio real quick because I just got his information. He is a vampire. He wasn't originally one, but he did become a vampire and a stand user, and he's kind of one of the main villains of the whole, JoJo series. But his stand, the world, is a humanoid stand that specializes in melee attacking for roughly equal, if not superior, an immense force to speed to Jotaro's Star Platinum, which is capable of, time stopping. About a year after gaining his stand, Dio discovered that it was capable of stopping time. At first, he could only stop it for a very short amount of time, but by the end of Part 3, he was able to stop time for a maximum of 9 seconds. The duration would have continued to develop had Dio not been defeated. That's messed up. The fact that he can just stop time for 9 seconds is messed up. But being a vampire as well, he's got weaknesses. He's got the, standard vampiric weaknesses. All of this, however, is at the expense of having body sustained by sheer willpower alone, rather than vital energy. A sufficient powerful force of vitality, specifically sunlight or the ripple, will negate the sustaining force's presence and disintegrate his long body. And he also has a former ability as such, former weakness Jonathan's body. But I know Dio Brando has other abilities besides this as well. I just don't know exactly which one, what that would be. He has a stone mask, I think, which turned him into Dio Brando. But yes, Dio Brando, as a vampire, he's got all the physical enhancements a vampire would have. Let me see here. Vampire. Powers and abilities of vampires. 1 second. Abilities discovered by Dio Brando. I want to say Brandy. Brando. Zombie vampire creation. During his time as a vampire, Dio created zombies either from a living person or the cadaver of the deceased, so forth and so on. Enhanced senses. Space Ripper Stinging Eye. That was one I remember, where he creates 2 pressurized fluid jets from his eyes, strong enough to cut cleanly through stone columns. It's kind of weird. High level regeneration. The body is able to live even after vital parts are amputated. It will regenerate and body parts will reattach themselves. Vaporizing freezing technique. A freezing ability enabling vampires to freeze their own body parts and transfer the lost energy by touch. Is able to cancel out the ripple by freezing the blood of the user. Fusion, allowing a vampire to grab parts of different organisms' bodies. Dio displays this ability by creating animal-human hybrids as pets and later grafting dismembered heads onto decapitated bodies. Flesh buds. Vampire cells can spawn these flesh buds and insert them into the brain of living beings to control them, basically mind control. Standard hypnosis and teleportation. His ability to disappear by fainting in darkness, though this power was only used by him in the anime, to be fair. Other abilities include superhuman strength, superhuman agility, blood sucking, bodily mastery, like vaporizing, freezing, and stinging eyes. Other properties of vampire's body can manipulate to lethal degrees. The vampire Wireback had the ability to form numerous spikes all over his body from his body hair, as well as form of camouflage. The Ripple, the vampire Striezo, these aren't powers Brando has. So yeah, Brando's pretty tough. Then you get into Dante, who apparently, at least in the latest versions of Gates for his full power, did get to like a low multiversal level of power, apparently. I can't see where exactly that was the case, because the way these power scalings work is that exactly as it sounds. They're scaling it to other characters who can do similar feats. And in theory, that does make sense. I'll take it, sure, whatever. I'm really get sick of like the Devil I Cry fans like say, you realize this and this, why you don't understand this? Don't you know research? But whatever. Okay, sure. He obviously wields his blades, and even in his early stages was able to create a vacuum cone in a rainstorm, like a sphere of empty space. That was just high speeds of sound feats. He's got the strength durability of a demon. He was capable of going toe-to-toe with demons of incredible strength. Again, high galactic, low multiversal tiers. His double trigger just ups that ability even more. High level regeneration, being mostly demon now, I think he is, or at least half demon, half human. Either way, he's got high level regeneration. Ebony and Ivory, his swords, his guns. I'm trying to remember. He's also got all of his triggers, double triggers, I believe. Not double triggers, but as I can't remember exactly what they're called actually. But basically, they allow him to. It's abilities he's gained, like also freezing time or slowing time down. At any rate, different weapons and armaments from different individuals. There's too many to count. Dante is just a very powerful and usually well-prepared character. He's also very laxative and laid back. Spawn or something. Oh, damn it. Something Simmons. Dan Simmons. Something Simmons. I can't remember his Alex Simmons. I can't remember his first name. But, was a soldier, went to hell, became a hell spawn, if you will, and, went against the demon overlords, and now he fights evil. As such, he wears Lilith of the 7th House, which is a living symbiote entity that basically feeds off of necroplasm, his own energy stores, and hate. But allows him to do multiple things, including use magic, create change, metamorphosis into whatever he wants. That's Al Simmons, that's what it is. Al is particularly good with still uses guns because he was a soldier, capable of using just about any weapon. His magic can go from anywhere from possession to hypnosis to manipulating the elements, creating portals, summoning, or just disintegration. There's really no limitation on what Al can do, provided he's got enough energy to do it. Now, fortunately, Lilith also feeds off the hatred of others, the hate and the sin of others. So as long as there's someone else around there, Spawn doesn't really have to worry about using up his own energy reserves. And trust me, in this fight, even though Dante's probably the most heroic and good of all of them, Dio ain't. So D's got plenty of, malice and contempt and everything to feed off of when it comes to Dio. But then if you want to go even further beyond, obviously Spawn made a deal with the Mother of Creation to basically become the strongest being in the Spawn universe for a time and basically becoming God Spawn, and then reshape the world in his image. He defeated Satan and God. And he did it. He did it all for his own win, but he ultimately gave those powers up. So, if we're looking at these guys at their strongest, we'll take Spawn. We're going to give a little bit of leeway and use the two different versions because remember, the God Spawn was a very temporary fix. That's not something you generally get in the storylines. Like that's not something you get at all in the storylines. That was part of that story. However, base form, all these guys are definitely going to be messing with each other. Dio's ability to stop time is going to be tricky for Spawn to deal with, because of all the abilities Spawn has, time manipulation outside of his god form isn't really one of them. However, Dio and Dante actually run the problem of being able to take down Spawn, because the only way to take down Spawn is with a holy weapon or decapitation with a holy weapon. And unfortunately, without knowing that, Spawn was just going to be able to keep coming back and regenerating. Now, because Dante does ultimately carry a blade on him at pretty much all times, I think eventually he is going to be able to take off Spawn's head, but not before Spawn really gives them both a good fight. Off throwing magic, elemental attack, you name it, Spawn's going to throw everything he can at these guys. Likewise, though, Dio's time freeze ability is going to be a big problem for both these guys. That said, Dante does have a time freeze ability as well. So in theory, he could stop time within the time stop as well and be moving in there. Quicksilver, I think it's called. The issue for Dio, honestly, and this is the big issue for Dio Brando as far as I can see in this fight, is that as powerful as his stand the world is, and it is powerful, it's very powerful, he himself, as strong and powerful as he is, doesn't really have anything to put down Spawn or Dante. Dante's regeneration and durability are far beyond anything Dio's ever had to deal with. And Spawn is, again, someone that Dio wouldn't know to just decapitate him. And Spawn's regeneration and Lilith feeding off of his sin is just going to make it just that easier to take him on. I think ultimately what would happen here is Dante goes eventually into Double Trigger, bypasses basically the the abilities of the stand, the world, either by just using Quicksilver in and of itself to counteract it, or honestly just being so fast that Dio can't react, and eventually taking Dio's head off, or just mutilating Dio basically. Now, Dio's regeneration does make it so it's difficult to get a permanent kill on him that way, but I do believe Dante is someone who could do that, and I believe Spawn is someone who could do that too. But then that leaves Spawn and Dante, like I said, if we are lowballing him to say or highballing him to the multiversal, low multiversal scaling in terms of power, Spawn without the God form is not that powerful. He again could put up a fight, but he just wouldn't be able to keep up with Dante at that point. And ultimately, Dante would probably take his head clean off. However, there is God Spawn we can go to. And God Spawn was basically a multiversal being. Hold on. God Spawn. God Spawn. There we go. The God Spawns. Yeah, God's or Divine Spawn. Well, there's God Spawn and then there's Divine Spawn. I think this is actually supposed to be Divine Spawn. Okay, sorry. Divine Spawn, not God Spawn. There's a difference between the two. I apologize. Apparently God Spawn is a different thing. Divine Spawn. So Divine Spawn, in terms of like sheer power, is infinitely below Mother of Existence, but it is incapable of killing God and Satan. So he didn't actually. So he beat them, but he didn't kill them. Now that it all said, he's completely and utterly has nigh omnipotence. Universal level speculation, headcanon, all that, but his power being the fact that he is basically the strongest form Spawn has ever had makes it that he is beyond God and Satan. Now, I'm pretty certain that is the case, if I'm not mistaken, but let me just double check with God Spawn real quick and see if that's anything different, if I'm missing something here. God in Spawn. Okay, yeah, God's a doggy in this picture. That's adorable. But yes, because the mother of all creation is, exists basically in a multiversal capacity, that puts Divine Spawn also in a multiversal capacity. It's just now depending on between Dante and God Spawn, who will now be able to be like, nope, bye, with Dio. Is Dante going to be able to beat Divine Spawn, or is Divine Spawn now stronger than Dante? And that's all depending on how you look at the power level of Divine Spawn. For my money, because he has nigh omnipotence among all other powers, I am probably going to lean more to Divine Spawn on that, because he very much is a true god compared to Dante, who is just extremely powerful. And basically Dante, in theory, Spawn, in theory at that point, could just, strip him of his powers, hypothetically speaking. He might not be able to kill God or Satan, but, he is neither. So, yeah. But that, again, is all depending on how powerful you really take Divine Spawn to be, versus how powerful you take Dante to be. Ultimately, if I were to really play this out, because Divine Spawn is just kind of a one-time deal, I will say Dante is probably going to win the overall fight. But I think Spawn would give him a good, solid fight before ultimately getting his head taken off. So ultimately, I go Dante. If we are going with Divine Spawn, I might lean towards Divine Spawn. But that's just me. Anyway, though, that's just my opinion. What do you think? Put in the comments below. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Ooh, excuse me. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.